all the Pokemon I used to qualify for the World Championships, all the teams I used to qualify, and all of the events I used to qualify. I know a lot of people are getting serious about playing VGC in 2025, and while I've made a video talking about my thoughts on the circuit changes, how you can actually get an invite, this is going to be how I got my invite for the VGC 2024 season. What I'm going to do here is press this button right here. This is my Pokemon Championships video game page. You can see how many points I earned this season, which is 545. I'm rank 145 out of NA. If you go to click this, you can see where I rank against a bunch of the other players and like who the best players are in North America. It's going to be like over here. So like Riley Factura, I think, is numero uno. Alberto Lara, Joseph Ugarte, Gio, Paul Chua. These are all the best people in the world. We got Wolf Glick down here, number 18. And if we were to sort it up here, you can see I have 545. I'm on page 2, but I'm in the top 6% of all of the players in the country. If we were to sort it by global, I'm in the top 4% of all the players in the country. Do I still have TCD points? They're not. I don't have any active ones right now because they, points expire every single season. But yeah, I'm currently one of the top 4% like best people in the whole world at this game, and this is how I got my invite for the World Championship. So when you click this, it'll actually show you all the events that you went to in a season. It'll show you how many points you had. It'll show you everything you really need to know. Shows you 1 points in, so it basically goes over like how many points you earned from each thing. So this is like VGC International Championships. This is NAIC. I got 100 points from there. These are the 2 global challenges. I didn't play in the third one. I got 5 points from each because I only played a couple games. These are all of my regionals. I went to all these regionals in one season. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I went to 8 regionals. I earned points from 5. I should have got points right there, but I didn't. These are all the mid-seasons I went to. I went to a lot of mid-seasons. Mid-seasons were the bane of my existence for this season, but you saw I won 2 of them, and I got top 4 and top 8 in 2 more. And then you see my Premier Challenges down here. I went to a lot of Premier Challenges, and I actually had some pretty good records in Premier Challenges. Like, I got points from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you see my points were dropped from here because you can only have a BFL limit of 6 at Premier Challenges, Mid-Seasons, and Regionals for the 2024 season. So you see I scrubbed out of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 10 out of 30 is not bad. This one was bad. This one was bad, but this one's not bad either. Anyways, we're going to talk about the teams that I used, and I've been planning on making this video for a while because I actually really think it's important to see like what your strongest soldier is. Like, you might think that you're a little bit of like a Chi-Yu, Flutter, Andy, but then when you add up all the total of points and talk about like all the teams you used over the year, you may come to realize, wow, I did a lot better with like a specific Pokemon than another Pokemon. And so it might just give you some more ideas on what your real playstyle is after analyzing the data. And in doing that, we're going to take a look at all of the Pokemon that I used to get points this season. Like this is my NAIC team. These are all my regionals. I went and did all this beforehand. These are every single Pokemon that I got points with and how many points I got with them over the course of this season. So I got the most amount of points with Whimsicott. I got the second amount of points with Fluttermane, third with Terrakion. I just messed everything up. Go back. Right? The format change muddies the data. Well, the format change is different, right? It's a completely different format. This is just how I did it in this format. If we take a look at this page that I have right here, you can see we're breaking it down into the teams, right? So at NAIC, I got 100 points with this team that was like Shadow Rider, Wims, Terrakion, Palma, Indigo Fairy. That's a team I used for like the last, the last like month and a half of the Reg G format. In the first global challenge, the second global challenge, I used Hisui Zoroark, Tatsu, Dozo, Metagross, Wims, Terrakion. That was a really cool team built around Explosion Metagross. I only got 5 points because I only played like 6 games, but that's cool. Getting points with Hisui Zoroark is awesome. And the other global challenge teams, I think this was my same team that I used in, let's see, what tournament was that? That might have been Charlotte era. It's like a Reg D team, kind of. It was a fine team. Chew, Flutter, Wind Shotgun, Indy Down Crown, so a 2-2-2 comp. Pretty solid squad. Nothing really wrong with that. So those are my first 3, and those are equivalent to what is right here. So we're going down the list. So you said 100 points from NAIC, 5 from each of these. And you can see it's a lot of Whimsicott Terrakion, right? We go look down a little bit more. This is kind of where my season started in San Antonio. In that team, I used Urshi Dark. I used Gothitelle, Roaring Moon, Weezing, Torkoal, and Flutter. And what's really crazy about that tournament, I ended up going 6-3 at that tournament. But I think that I could have won the tournament if the Weezing change did not happen one day before. We had done all our testing to where Photosynthesis and Weezing still worked together, and then a day before I flew out to San Antonio, they changed it to where they didn't. And I had some really, really good lines to where I forced a lot of respect for certain mons in certain board situations. And I think I could have won the tournament. And I very rarely feel that way, but I really think that I could have won the tournament if they didn't make that change. Blame Wolfie for that. Wolf had absolutely nothing to do with it, and the fact that he took credit for that when he didn't have anything to do with it, you know, is just, that's a real Wolf thing to do, I guess. He had nothing to do with it. But let's go into the next thing. Let me read this comment. Checking out a team I climbed Showdown ladder with. No, I'm good. I'm doing my own thing. I'm happy you got high on the ladder, but I'm doing my own thing. Let's take a look at the Portland team. So this is where I think like I really locked in. So like San Antonio was my first event of the season. If we actually were to take a look back at this page over here, my main page, you can see there's different like thresholds where you start to get your points. So if you get certain amounts of points earned by certain points of the season, you unlock like the ability to get stipends, right? So the season had already well been underway for a few months, you know, that started in like August, September. And in December, I only had 38 points. I started my season basically in the end of December. Because remember, I got married in October and, you know, took a little break from the game. So basically, my season started at San Antonio. And then I kind of hit my stride in Portland. So let's take a look at that Portland team real quick. That Portland team was very me. Wims Terrakion, Flutterchew, Bundle, Indity, Female. Very, very similar. Like, that's definitely like my bread and butter of Whimsicott Terrakion. Whimsicott Terrakion with a little bit of redirection, some speed control, and massive amounts of AoE. That's one of my favorite team comps. This basically, if we were to be honest, this basically is still that Shadow Rider team with like Palmot, Wims Terrakion that I used at NAIC. This team and this team are basically the same thing. The Shadow Riders of Flutter, the Indity, and Clef are still the redirection. You got the big Terrakion. Like, it's just, it goes together like bread and butter. It works really, really well. And this was like, I went 6-3 in that one. I lost my win in. Great team. I lost my win in Neil Patel. But solid team. Good stuff. I'm happy with my 6-3. Ain't nothing wrong with that. 40 points. We take those all the way to the bank. And that's 2 events in a row that I got points in back to back. So great stuff. We're going to Vancouver now. And again, more Whimsicott Terrakion. Whimsicott Terrakion, Flutter, Indity, Chew, Torkoal. So you see it's basically the same team, but instead of Bundle, I put the Torkoal. And I gave my Flutter main Trick Room, and the Indity had Trick Room. So I could go into a pseudo Trick Room mode for Game 2 and Game 3. I think I lost my winning into Strider. Another really, really good player. But 6-3 again, and that's, I think, 3 events in a row that I got points from. And one thing we're going to see from taking a look at the points that I get from my events is I didn't really set up my season to, like, win regionals or, like, go super nuts and make day 2 every time. I set up my season to where if I get 30 to 40 points from every single event, and I hit my BFLs, which are 6. I didn't even hit the BFLs for regionals. I didn't even hit the BFLs for MSSs. You're still going to get your invite if you are consistent enough over time, right? I think it's a lot. It's not that it's easier. It's more realistic to build a team you know you can get 30 to 40 points with than to win a team that will win the tournament, right? Now that we're going to be going to Worlds in a month, I think that now is the time when you would like to build a team to win the tournament because it's the last tournament. No one cares about going 6-3 at Worlds. They want to win the thing, right? But in getting your invite, I think it's really, really important to try to play for consistency. Because if you can make a team that can consistently get 6-3, you're 1 win away from day 2. And if you're 1 win away from day 2, you could win the whole thing. How important is it to have your EVs perfect? For example, I put max attack on a Mon, but it only needs 200 EVs in attack. Am I throwing, or just can I play around that? Honestly, so 200 would be wasting 4 points. 204 and 196 are the kickers in those situations, but your EVs, your EVs obviously matter, but I will say that there's nothing wrong with like 252 squads out. As long as your speed tiers are what you know that they are, you're going to be going in the right direction. There are people that have qualified for Worlds using only 252 teams, and that's the truth. Some Pokemon are just built that way. If you lean into that playstyle, you like that playstyle, that works for you. There's going to be a low skill ceiling there, but it definitely does work. You aren't going to Worlds? No, I'm going to Worlds. What the hell? I qualified. I'm Worlds player. That's +1. I'm going. All right. Let me go back to what we were talking about here. So we were talking about Vancouver, right? So you can see a pattern, right? Whimsicott Terrakion, big AoE, Chi-Yu Flutter. We're going into the last event of, I think, Reg E. And this is where I bust out something different. And I'm really happy that I got points for this. Another 6-3 showing. I think I lost my win into Tiberus. I missed a Hyper Beam, a Specs Hyper Beam, and I had game. But look how different that team is, right? It shows a complete different take from all my teams that I've shown this whole time. Thank you for the follow, appreciate it. Hisui Zoroark, Dozo Tatsu, Talonflame, Urshifu Dark Glamora. This was a banded Urshi Dark with Poison Terra. Sash Glamora. Upper Hand Life Orb Talonflame. Like, this team hooked. It was so cool. It was so creative. And I'm really happy that I was able to, like, get points with this team. Because we had reached a point where, like, Whimsicott Terrakion just was not cutting it. Bolt was in the meta. Like, it was... Whimsicott Terrakion had ran its course, Chi-Yu Flutter had ran its course for that format, and I needed to do something different, and I really hit the lab for this one. I had to get points in Orlando. If I missed points in Orlando, I would have to have done way better at NAIC. I would have had to have done like way better at a couple other events. Like, we were getting to the tail end of the season, and I was still like not where I needed to be. And so I'm really happy I got those points. It was a big confidence booster for me. Friends I was with there definitely helped out as well. We had a good time, but very, very happy to get my points in Orlando. And Indy, I only got 30 points this time because I think I went 5-4, but I had like crack tiebreakers. Like, I fought against Rajan Ball, and I fought against 2 of the people in top 8 were my opponents in this tournament, right? So it's like, what do you want from me? You know? And I used Zacian. Zacian Dragonite Ditto, Urshi Water. This is the first time I got points with Urshi Water in this format. And then Goth Whimsicott. So you can still see like little things that were popular about some of my teams. Like, there's still that Whimsicott energy. There's still that little bit of Goth energy from the start of the season. So I think there's something to be said. There's 2 types of people, right? There's 2 types of people. There's the people that have like one team that they perfect over the course of the season. And there's someone that just plays something completely different every single time and is a jack of all trades, whatever. And while I don't think you should just take one thing and only use that, I do think that what you should be doing is taking aspects of things that work for you and blending them together. So like, we're blending together with this Goth here, like the start of my season, right? With the Goth, Wheezing, Roaring Moon type thing. We're going for the pins. We're blending together the Whimsicott from the middle of the season and other stuff like that. And so we're making a cool team that is like the culmination of the season and everything that you've worked on as a player. I think that's really, really important. You know, you can't just be completely a one trick. You have to fuse your one tricks together to have a whole new bag of tricks. And then, you know, Diamond basically used a version of this and made day 2 and got on stream at LA. His team was much better than mine, but I think this was like the catalyst for his idea. Like, Goth Zacian is just really, really good. So those were all of the regionals that I did well in. And now we're going to MSSs. And I did pretty well at the MSSs that I did well at. I got 2 first places at 2 MSSs. First place was with my Shadow Red Palmont Whims. This was the initial version of the team. MSS stands for Midseason Showdown. So there are multiple levels of tournaments. There are locals, which are like premier challenges. Those give a small amount of points. Midseason Showdowns give a good chunk of points. The winner gets 50 points. And then there are regionals, right, where the winner gets like 200-ish points. And then there's like internationals, right, there's only 4 of those per year. So mid-seasons are the basically monthlies tournament. And I got first place in 2 of those. One of those was with the initial version of my Shadow Rider Pawmot team that I was helped out with by Dr. Check, and his used Blood Moon Urshi Water, and I got first place with it, so like it worked. I was really happy to actually get points with Blood Moon. I think I like Blood Moon Ursaluna like a lot, and I think that like I'm happy that I got some points with it because it's not really a Pokemon that's in my comfort zone of being used, and it's just been a really, really fun Pokemon to use. But that team, I didn't really like how it was all in. It was too all in for me. I definitely changed it and made the Urshi Water into a couple other things. I made that Urshi Water and the Blood Moon into more of like Whimsicott Terrakion type stuff for my team with like a little bit of Entity Redirection for my future versions. I also got first place down here. This was near the start of the season. This is the same team that I used in Vancouver, right? So right before Vancouver, which was up here, where I went 6-3. I used the exact same team like a week before and got first place in a midseason with like Whims Terrakion, Flutter Chi-Yu, Torkoal. The Torkoal really, really helped, I think, solidifying some matchups. It allowed me to just bully teams that weren't Trick Room, and against other Trick Room teams, I have a Torkoal, right? And Torkoal can also enable the Chi-Yu and the Flutter. It cuts water damage from the Terrakion. I just really felt comfortable with this team. This is probably my favorite team for the 2024 season was this one. I felt like I could definitely take games off almost anybody. The only teams I didn't like fighting were Glimdozo. And at Vancouver, I don't know if you guys remember, I fought 4 Glimdozos, which wasn't even popular at that time in the format, which was the crazy part about it. So, you know, that's that. But still, team's very good. No Glimdozo with this local. I won. Going down to MSS, I got top 4 at MSS. This was the initial very first time that I played the Shadow Rider Pawmot team. It's the exact same one as this. So this first place and this third place happened in the same weekend, right? Basically, I got this I got this third place on Saturday, and I also top cut the PC on Saturday with this team, and then on Sunday I just won the MSS. On Sunday I just won the MSS. So same team, Pawmot Whims, very, very good. Going down to a top 8. This was the same team that I used. How would I word this? This was the same team that I used right before I perfected my San Antonio team. So this is where I got my first bit of points for the season. These were the first points I got in the season. It was Weezing, Roaring Moon, Flutter Goth, Regieleki, Torkoal. Cool team. Ain't got nothing wrong with that. Like, Regieleki's good. Like, Torkoal's good. Like, easy peasy. I did good at the MSS. I remember getting top 8 in the MSS and then dropping and then getting second in the PC the same night. So I ended up getting 16 points in the PC, 25 for the MSS because it was a double header. And I used a completely different team and ended up getting like 41 points on the weekend. And that was like absolutely amazing. So you can see the same PC right here. These two are the exact same team. I won a PC like a month before that, or 2 weeks before that with the same team. So Weezing, Roaring Moon, Flutter Goth, Regieleki, Torkoal. I just like the team a lot. Definitely vibed with me. I think I was the first player of note. How many players did I miss at Indy? I think I only missed like 1, if any. I usually hit play rough, honestly. But I think I was the first player of note to really latch onto Lecky in this format. I know that right after I top cut this, I won a tournament and then top 8 another one. Like 2 weeks after that, Regieleki won that big tournament. I don't know if you guys remember. It was like Ice Terra Lecky. I think it was like one of the Latin America. It might have been Latin American Internationals. I think Lecky like won it or got second or something like that. But like I had been on a Lecky train for like a month and a half, saying that Pokemon was just like absolutely cracked. And I was using Covert Cloak Lecky, and yeah, that stops Fake Out. But the real reason why it was Covert Cloak Lecky was because like you could just sit in front of their booster flutter or booster bundle, eat their Icy Wind, and still get your speed control. And it was really, really good. Lecky also didn't really care about Weezing that much. You don't need Transistor. So I thought it was a really, really good team. It was great in Dozo, right? That's the thing, is great in Dozo. And you still see aspects of where the format started for me. Little bits of like what I was using over the whole course of the format. Weezing Moon's cool, but there's the Goth. There's that Goth Torkoal that pops up in so many of my little teams. And it's an aggressive Torkoal. This isn't hard Trick Room, but it basically just says, you can't Trick Room me. I will Torkoal you if you try to like hard Trick Room me. And I really just felt comfortable with this team. A lot of my games actually, I would go like Roaring Moon Goth or Roaring Moon Lecky. I didn't even really go Roaring Moon Weezing all that often. And I would go like fake out Tailwind, or I would just go like knock off Trick Room. They'd KO the Roaring Moon because they know it's a threat. I bring in the Torkoal, and I have Goth Torkoal, and then I'd pivot out the Goth for the Weezing to disable their ability to like Prankster, change my weather, double Eruption, and eventually you just bring back in the Goth to get a fake out pin in the late game and you win the game, right? So it's a really, really cool like auto win game 2 or game 3 situation if you force them to over-respect your Roaring Moon. And I really liked this team. And that's definitely like my play style for like a lot of Scarlet and Violet is force Terras, force them to over-respect certain matchups, and then like flip the script and go with something a little bit different. That's why it's kind of like a 2-2-2 comp, but I would say that I'm probably one of the few people that plays 2-2-2 like this. When you think of 2-2-2, you think of like complete opposite comps that don't, they might blend together a little bit, but they really clash. Like Dozo Tatsu into the Armarouge, Lycanroc T-Tar. That's a classic 2-2-2 from the start of Scarlet and Violet. And I don't play 2-2-2s like that. I play like little ones that like bleed into each other. If I were to describe like my play style with like these sort of teams, it's almost like being a red mage. Right, I can like handle most things, but I do not perfectly solve any matchup. I have a little bit of everything to swing a matchup and flip it, but it's not like I'm the one really dictating play the whole time. So it's a little bit more fluid, but it's not balanced. It's definitely like hyper aggro 2-2-2 balance. I don't even know how to explain it, but I don't see other people play the game like this. I don't. I definitely feel like this is a lot more of like a 2015-esque play style that you know, people that have been around since 2015 are good enough to not really play like this, but I still like playing like this. So it works for me. You know, if it works for me, it can work for you guys too. Going on to other places. This is that team that I got second place at the PC with the same day I top cut with the Roaring Moon team up here for the MSS. So that team used Metronome Galar Slowbro. It used Choice Band Dark Zoroark from Unova. I think I have the most amount of points earned with Dark Zoroark in 16 in the world. Again, more Torkoal. This is more of a hard Trick Room team. So it's like a Lily Cole hard Trick Room. It's like you have a Moongus for some redirection. You have Frigoraph. The cool thing about this team is Zoroark disguises really well against all those Pokemon, and like a Choice Band Dark Terra Sucker Punch, or like a Choice Band. I remember this guy pivoted in Rillaboom, and I went Dark Terra, knockoff, O-Code Rillaboom. Whimsicott carried you hard for your World's Invite. It definitely did, yeah. Whimsicott was my MVP. I'm definitely Whimsicott Andy, so I like Whimsicott. It's a really, really good mon. So yeah, this team was fun. I was happy to get points with it. I think I have the most amount of Galar Slowbro points earned as well. And then we have like down here are a couple PC top cuts. Again, I got second at a PC with my Whimsicott, Terrakion, Chiyu Flutter team. This is my Vancouver team. I lost to Aaron Zhang in the finals. That video is up on YouTube of me breaking down that whole run in that game. I played on stream twice in that one. So really, really good. I went undefeated in Swiss. I won in top cut, and then I lost to Zhang in the finals. Couldn't ask for anything better out of that team, because that was also nearly like the end of this team's like lifespan too. So I did a good job with it. I got PC top 4. This is the same weekend that I got top 8 in the MSS. I top cut like 3 events in like a row and like 2 in one weekend. With the like Whimsicott Blood Moon team, really, really good stuff. And the last 2 are just a couple PC top cuts with like Weezing Roaring Moon. I got this right before going to San Antonio before I changed the team up. I remember Weezing Roaring Moon stayed, Goth stayed, Flutter stayed, Torkoal stayed, and then Regieleki turned into Urshi Dark. But good team. And, you know, it's right there. PC, this is top cut from the San Antonio PC right before the main event. This is the same team. So you can see like aspects of my playstyle throughout the whole year. We have also this page over here just showing like how many points I earn with each Pokemon. I got 380 points out of the 500 you need to qualify with Whimsicott. And I didn't even start using that Pokemon until like 70% of the way through the format was over. Like Whimsicott is my jam. I've used Sash Whimsicott. I've used Cloak Whimsicott. I've used King's Rock Whimsicott. I think those are all the Whimsicott items I've used in this format. Solid mon though. I like Whimsicott a lot. Flutter, I used a lot. I think all those points are earned off Specs Flutter. I think I used the same Flutter set in like multiple different regulations. No EV changes, no item changes. Specs Flutter on like my semi-bulky spec set that I really like that outspeeds Torn. It's just good. It's just my go-to bread and butter Flutter set, and it paired really well with Chiyu. The Terrakion that I got third with 256, I used Cloak Terrakion. I've used Policy Terrakion. I've used... There's one other type of Terrakion that I think I've used. It might have been like Clear Amulet. But I think the Cloak Terrakion is the best one on the really, really bulky Cloak set. I like it a lot. I think Terrakion is probably my favorite Pokemon for this format overall. Like, Terrakion's my guy. I am Terrakion's strongest soldier. Ain't no one has more Worlds points this season with Terrakion than I do. Like, I want to say I hope Terrakion wins Worlds. Right? I don't think it will. But, like, so I can be validated, but at the same time I'll be sad because then someone else will be the Terrakion guy. But, like, I'm definitely the Terrakion guy. You cannot say that I'm not, dude. Like, Terrakion and me go together like bread and butter. Terrakion only winning Worlds if it's you. No, like, I feel like if you were to make Wolf Glick play Terrakion, like, he'd show you guys something special. I still have a few more Terrakion tricks you guys haven't seen. Because a lot of the Terrakion teams I've used have all been slightly different. I don't think I've used the same one that many times. I've used a lot of different Terrakion teams over the course of this season. But there are still a few more bags in Terrakion's bag of tricks. Indeedee, you see I have Indeedee at my 4th place position, and honestly, I use Indeedee as a lot of Imprisoned Trick Room, and I've heard a lot of people say that, like, Imprisoned Trick Room is bad, and it doesn't work in OTS, and to those people, I say the Imprisoned Trick Room is not to win the Trick Room matchup. It's to say, hey, you know that Trick Room team that you have that, like, really wants to set Trick Room? It can totally set Trick Room, but it can't do it this turn. So, like, if I were to do something like Indeedee Flutter and go Imprison and have my Flutter trade with your other Mon, and so now we're in a situation where my Indeedee doesn't get KO'd because you couldn't kill it, and I killed one of your Mons, and I have a 4-3 advantage, then next turn, you can kill the Indeedee. I delayed your Trick Room for 2 turns. It's going to go up, but you're in a situation where I traded with another one of your Mons, and now you have 2, and I have 3. And I can go Protect, Pivot, Mitigate, Protect, Mitigate. Trick Room's over, I won, right? So if I can basically take the kneecaps out of your Trick Room team by not allowing you to switch after you get that Trick Room up and knowing that you have to be locked in on that board state, I'm going to win. Don't want to be that guy, but what makes Wolf so great? I think he is smart, but also uses the best Mons consistently in high-level play. If you did that, you'd be just as good. No, you are incorrect. Some people are built different. Some people have, like, big brains. I have weak, small brain, and Wolf has big, large brain. So it's not about mom power, right? If we were to compare how much more goes through his head versus, like, my head or, like, another player's head, there's so much more going on. You could give Wolf a shit team and he'd still beat you. Like, if you can give Wolf any of the teams that I used, and he could have, like, won the tournaments with those. Like, I don't think you guys understand just how good he is. I think a good example of that is, like, after he got his Worlds invite, he actually just kind of used the same team with, like, Frigoraph and Urshi Water at, like, the next, like, 3 or 4 events, and I think he won one of them and, like, top cut 2 of them. And you're like, oh, he's just using good stuff. He's just using, like, Incineroar. And it's like, no, actually, like, that team that he was using was, like, really dated, and it had been telegraphed as his team. He used the team that everybody prepped for, that was really, really dated, and honestly not great into the meta, and still won. That's nuts. That's, like, nuts. That doesn't, like, make sense. Because he already had his invite, right? He was just playing to play. The tournament that he came down, I think it was Orlando. He's like, I just came down on a whim, you know? He's like, I just wanted to, like, I just felt like coming down, right? The team was, like, really dated by that point. It was, I think, 1 Mon different from his team that he won Charlotte with. So he just, like, not accidentally, he just, like, casually won the like, biggest regional of all time. Yeah, I feel like it's hard to also tilt Wolf. I feel like his mental is really, really strong. And he's one of those people, if you give him an inch, he'll take a mile in the amount of, like, tempo that the game has. So when you're playing against Wolf, the trick is, same thing when you're playing against, I feel like this also works against Zhang. You have to very strictly set your boundaries. In, like, I'm not letting you make this play. I'm not letting you make this play. Because if you let them get in your head and, like, make a double target into a play or, like, make a read, you will not ever come back, right? Yeah, Wolf is very good at knowing the patterns and stuff like that. What makes him so good? What are the tangibles? I'm explaining it right now. Wolf and Zang are very similar. So is like Aaron Trailer. I'm gonna group them all together. They're very, very good at capitalizing on tempo and being able to read opponents mid-match. I think that's a very... Let's compare this to chess for like a second, because I think that that's something worth talking about. There are two types of chess players, right? There are chess players that play like online chess and online tournaments, and then there's people that play over-the-board chess, classical chess. And being able to like read your opponent's body language and like, you know, use your experience as a player to your advantage to leverage the matchup, you know, he's someone who is very, very good at that. I would also say that like that's where more of my skill comes in as well, is I'm pretty good at understanding what needs to be done in like a game 1-2 situation. I think another player who's like really, really good at that is like Ashton Cox. He's way, way, way better in person than playing like online. So is James Beck. I think James Beck is really, really good at that as well. And I think Wolf is like the best at that. He's gonna actually... He does this thing where he'll intentionally play passive for a couple turns because he's gauging where your limits are. Remember what I said at the start. You need to very strictly set your barriers to be like, hey, you can't do that to me. You can't do that to me. And you have to be able to willingly risk the game to say, I'm not letting this happen. I'm not letting this happen. Because once he realizes over even the course of 2 turns, he's going to take a lot less time to recognize these patterns in other people, that he can actually influence you into doing what he wants. You'll never be able to come back. And that's why someone like, I don't know if you saw the game that he played against Nick Donnelly. I think that's his name. In the finals of Charlotte, Nick did like a really, really, really good job of saying, no, you can't do that. I'm willing to lose the game for you to not do that. I'm willing to lose the game for you to not do that. And you see, like, that's the closest Wolf's gotten to being very flustered. If you actually take a look back at his matchup versus Neil did you cannot let them have their turns the way they want them. You have to do everything in your power to make their turns... They can still have good turns, but they can't go the exact way that they want. You say, you can totally U-turn out of here, but you know what you're not getting? You're not getting the damage on the mon you want. You have to slow them down just a little bit, right? And I think that that's a hard thing to do. Allowing your opponent to win, but allowing them to win in a way that isn't what they planned is a really weird skill to have, especially in an open team sheet. Because even in that loss, you were the one that was in control. And I feel that players like Wolf, they still will win, right? But like they're not as influenced. So like if you can get that game, you can then start influencing game 2 because now you're the one with the tempo. And then in game 3, yeah, you're still probably going to lose, but you don't lose the way that they intended you to lose, which means you have shots, right? You have that shot for that 1-turn flinch or that 1-turn crit because the game becomes a little bit more of like a clown fiesta type thing. I don't know if that makes any sense, but just think about it. It's a good skill to have. So we're talking about my teams here. We're talking about, we have this team here. This is the core that I used for the latter half of the season with Shadow Rider, Pawmot, Clef, and really, really solid. I used them with Blood Moon on a couple teams, Inity on a couple teams, Women's Katraki on a couple teams. Good stuff. Got 174 points with Torkoal. I think I used the exact same Torkoal all season. I got 174 points with Torkoal without playing Trick Room. And without playing into those weird eject pack photosynthesis teams. I used a Life Orb Torkoal, modest, not quiet, with speed investment, and just fucking bullied people with Torkoal. 174 points. That is a lot of damn points to get with like an aggro Torkoal. So the Torkoal set that I used all season basically just outsped Amoonguss. So like if I see your Amoonguss like is dead, I don't need to set Trick Room. Like honestly, if I set Trick Room, which I did sometimes, with like my Gothitels or Nidities and stuff, their Amoonguss would have undersped me and been able to support Torkoal, but they never knew it. They never knew it ever. No one ever knew it. Yeah, Torkoal busted. Love Torkoal. Down here, going on a little bit more, we have Chi-Yu. I got 151 points with Chi-Yu. I used a lot of Scarf Chi-Yu. I think those are all Scarf Chi-Yu sets. One notable thing that I think my Chi-Yus do a little bit differently is I really like Ruination on Chi-Yu. being able to blow up half of an Ogerpont's health, being able to blow up half of a Dozo, being able to break multi-scales or other stuff like that. I felt really comfortable pairing Chi-Yu Flutter when I played it with Ruination, and I think Ruination definitely helps. It was great into Raging Bolts for the first half of its format as well. Really good into like Portland and Vancouver. I really like Chi-Yu Scarf with Ruination. I felt it was very, very good. So yeah, that's just different from I think a lot of other people's Chi-Yus that are scarfed. Ruination got me some really good KOs on stuff. And you can actually KO with Ruination if they're just at 1. So if you clock your Sash or something else, Ruination will get that KO. So it's really cool to see. Goth got 139 points. I used Goth on like 4 or 5 different squads. A lot of my Wheezing Moon stuff had Goth, but also like that later stage Indianapolis team for Reg G that had like Zashi and Dragonite Ditto with Goth as well. Really cool mon. I think Goth still might be able to make a comeback for Worlds for me. But I think it's a really cool mon. After that, we got Urshi Water. I only used Urshi Water at the very latter half of the season. I used it on a lot of the teams I used with Blood Moon and then my Orlando team. So I actually didn't have any points. These might be the first points I've ever gotten with Urshifu, period. Because like I just wasn't that much of an Urshifu Andy in Sword and Shield. And so Urshi Water got 124 points with. Urshi Dark, you said I got 46 with. But it's a good mon. It fits on very specific teams. It's good in Incineroar check, so it's a fine mon. I'm just not really that big of an Urshifu guy. Wheezing Moon, these two, I only ever played them on the same team, so they both have 109, but one of my favorite cores of all time. How is Team Orange overall? Team Orange was okay. We still have to use that a little bit, so we're going to use that Team Orange a little bit later. Blood Moon was on the team with Clef, on version 1 of like the Clef Shadow Rider team. I ended up cutting it for Terrakion eventually. Regieleki, I got a couple MSS top cuts, a win and a PC. Regieleki was fine at the start of the season, like I said earlier. Like I think I was one of the first people to really adopt into using it. Urshi, these 46 points are different from the 45. So this gave me 6-3 in Orlando and 6 points from Top Cut San Antonio in the top 16 of the elevated PC. So like top 16 in a really big PC, it goes all the way down to 6, right here. So when you play on like the PCs at regionals, you can get like 6 or 4 points from them if there's like, over 100 people. So that's how that happened. And then the 45s were Top Court Orlando. These were all on the same team, but then like 5 points from a Global Challenge. Because it was the same, basically my Orlando team was just basically a version 2 of my Global Challenge 2 team. So like going back and like updating what worked for like newer formats is definitely, how the formats work as well. These 40 points, these were from... What is it? These two were from Orlando, but this one was from Portland on the bundle. And one thing I really liked about my bundle set, I was talking to NJ11, and he really recommended that I use Ice Terra bundle to be able to like Oko Rillas and Oko Munguses with the Ice Terra Freeze Dry. And I think that I really liked that advice. So it's really good stuff. So what's going to determine what you take to Worlds? It's not possible to counter everything, but we know what 90% of the standard meta will be. Well, I'll talk about that in a sec, because I have a couple ideas. These last 30 points, these are on my Indie team, Dragonite, Choice Band Dragonite, Choice Scarf Ditto with Zashi, and I use these guys at Indie. And the last 5 points, I use these in... Oh, Slowbro is supposed to be... Oh, there's the 16 area. We're missing a tier here, guys. We're missing a tier. Hold on. There needs to be a 16. I completely ruined it. I got 16 points with this, with this. Cool. All right. There we go. The tier list is now perfect. And that's it. I got 5 points with Metagross and Global Challenge, but these guys all got a lot of points. So, good stuff. That's all the Pokemon I earned points with for this season. And, yeah, Whimsicott, Terrakion, Andy. That's me. If we take a look, I sorted them all out over here as well. So it was hard, man. This took a long time to actually do, because I had to go into this and like look at all of like, I'm like, what event was this? Like, what event was this? Like it just says Midseason Showdown. I had to go to my YouTube channel and see like what teams I was using around that time. I'm like, I don't remember. This is Reg E, Reg G, Reg A, B, C, D. Like it was hard. But it ended up being 33. Worth it. I earned points out of 19 out of 33 events. And I actually think that that's pretty nuts. If we're just looking at like win rate, getting in the top cut in over half of your events, is ridiculous. I think that like there are so many people who like have their Worlds invite like in here that didn't do that. Right? There's a lot of people that have like their Worlds invite that like did well at like 2 regionals or like one at like an internats and maybe like did well at a couple MSSs, but they don't have like that like 60+% win rate overall. And I think that's really, really important. So 19 out of 30, that's pretty good. That's over half, right? I think that's great.